I tell you what, these online echo chambers are getting to be quite a problem. And oh yeah, if you can, I'm sunburned again because I was out in the sun all day today in Pontypridd, which was lovely. Never stop campaigning, I guess. But this is really starting to piss me off. This was shared 7,000 times on Facebook, which is quite a few. And it's one of those things where it's just like, it's just not accurate. Can the far right please stop getting upset about their heroes getting milkshake chucked over them? Well, who's the far right? If it's people who are supporting me, Milo, Nigel Farage, Tommy Robinson, these are not fascists. In Tommy's case, it's going to be working class people. Again, the Democratic Football Lads Alliance. We're against all extremism. To them, fascism is extreme, right? To me, I'm a liberal, very ideologically so, and Nigel Farage is a Thatcherite, making him also a liberal. So what are you doing? What is far right? It seems to just be not communist at this point. And look at this. Remember, you stabbed and shot Joe Cox, you fucking wankers. No. One guy who was an actual Nazi, a mentally deranged Nazi, shot Joe Cox. I am as much against mentally deranged Nazis as I am you communist swine. Like, the idea that I am somehow in league with the Nazi who shot Joe Cox is absurd. Like, I don't want political violence at all. He wanted political violence. Are we on the same team on this? Obviously not. I mean, Jesus Christ, but I love the way that you can literally ascribe the murder of Joe Cox to people who did not murder Joe Cox. I fucking hate collectivism like this. Like, you guys, your team. No. One guy did it because he was a nut job and he was actually a Nazi. Nigel Farage, myself, Tommy Robinson, we are not in league with that person. I love the way that you can just say, oh no, it was you guys who did this, right? And then you get this follow-up post is just fucking gold, right? People writing about right-wing figures being hit by milkshakes. Get to fuck, you soft twats. Oates incitement to violence is ruining political discourse, is making you as bad as them. Okay, that's true. You are the people who are causing political violence at this point. It's not tragic at the moment, but you seem to want it to become so. So, I mean, do you think that we don't condemn the murder of Joe Cox? Like, do you think that that's the case? You'd have to be a moron to think that, wouldn't you? An absolute bloody moron or an ideological communist. And I know which one you are by the things you pluck out of history. At the Battle of Cable Street... What? Like, the Battle of Cable Street, what side do you think I would have been on? Do you think Oswald Mosley saying we should have a giant EU empire... We should have a giant totalitarian Europe-wide empire. Would I have been on his fucking side? Obviously not. But anyway, a dock worker hit a fascist so fucking hard with an iron bar that the fascist lost an eye and spent the rest of his life being fed with a spoon. What did the fascist do as a job? I mean, you go, a dock worker, that's not ideological, so what did he believe? Was he a communist? It's entirely possible he was, isn't it? Because it's communists that think that political violence is okay when they do it. So maybe this dock worker was actually a communist, and okay, what did the fascist do as a profession? Who fucking knows? He's just a fascist, right? But anyway, we'll assume your characterization of this is accurate, which I highly doubt, frankly, because of the rest of what you say. But the fascist lost an eye and spent the rest of his life being fed with a spoon. Is that good? I mean, like, I don't know if we should be, like, there were lots of people injured in the 30s in street violence and murdered, like killed. Like in Germany, there would literally be like 30, 40 casualties from these giant street brawls. Is that what we want? Because what happened in Germany after all the giant street brawls were done and one side won? Like, what happened? At the Battle of Stockton in 1933, the fascists were met by trade unionists armed with bricks, bats, knives, and knuckle dusters. I don't want any gangs with bricks, bats, knives, and knuckle dusters wandering around. Like trade unionists, that makes me think they are actually communists. So why do we want armed mobs of communists attacking people in the street? I don't care who they are. Get the police to do something about them if they're causing a problem. Like, that's what we do. We don't go out there as a mob and beat people indiscriminately by screaming fascist at them to justify it. In the Spanish Civil War, thousands of British men left their jobs, homes and families to sail to a foreign land where they could really go to town on the fash. Do you not remember how that one ended? The fascist won? Like, is that an example that you want to bring up? Like, this is anachronistic. You are not going out with bricks, bats, knives, and knuckle dusters, right? When Tommy goes up to this one kid in, I don't know, Oldham, I think it was, and it's like, go on then, hit Nazis. He didn't do anything. You're not going to do it. And thank fuck you're not going to do it, to be honest, because it'd show your really psychopathic side if you were to, because the people you're targeting are not fascists. They don't self-identify with fascism. They don't like the idea of fascism. We are not fascists, you lunatics. But I guess to a communist, everything that opposes them looks like fascism, doesn't it? And that's your problem. In World War II, things really got out of control, and we killed fascists with machine guns, bombs, artillery, knives, and flamethrowers. We. Who the fuck is we? You fat, lazy keyboard warrior. You did not go out and kill fucking anyone. We killed. Fuck off, we. In one notable instance, a British man used a fucking longbow to kill fascists. Oh, yeah. Mad Jack, his name is Jack. Mad Jack something. Yeah, he was a Scottish lunatic. Like, there are lots of them up there. No, just teasing Scots, but I'm not wrong, am I? But this is not your accomplishment, dipshit. This is the most nationalistic feeling I've ever heard. This is exactly what Orwell described nationalism as, right? A commitment to a higher and greater good, a greater goal, like an ideal, right? That's what he described nationalism to be. So you could be a communist nationalist, and suddenly you would accrue to yourself all the benefits of the things that these people before you had done that you had not, and you could just say, well, all of the problems come from this one group of enemies. Like, this is nationalism at its worst in favor of communism, as Orwell would describe nationalism. And I completely agree. It's this, like, this reflected glory you think you're claiming hold of because someone else did violence to someone else in a different time and a different place to you. You are not any of these things. Milkshakes are harmless. They're a shaming weapon, not a violent one. Doesn't matter, you don't get to pour shit over people. Do you understand? Like, we have rules in civil society, how we want our political discourse to be conducted, and it doesn't involve assaulting anyone with anything, whether you consider that to be violent or not. And I've seen loads of left-wing journalists writing treatises against how, oh no, milkshake's not violence. No, you just don't get to chuck shit over people. Do you understand? That's unacceptable. There's a reason why the guy who did Jeremy Corbyn went to jail for a month. All of you fucks should be going to jail for a month for doing it to someone. It's not acceptable. It starts to destroy liberal dialogue. This is the democratic process you are undermining. You don't just get to go around assaulting people. I don't know why we have to explain this. And I don't care. I know you can be like, but they're fascists. Yes, I know. Which is why we don't elect fascists. Which is why we have law and order and constitutionalism, to make sure that the majority can't just victimize a minority. And I hate to point this out, but you are claiming a majority in order to victimize a minority. It's just in this case, the minority are people you hate so much you think it's okay to kill them, which is the reason that every minority has ever been targeted and murdered. In this case, it's fascist, but in different eras, it could be anything. And again, it comes from that nationalistic sentiment. Our country will be great. Our ideal will be great if we can just murder those people. It's the murdering part that's the problem. I don't know why I have to explain this to you. Actually, I do know why. It's because you're fucking communists. But this is what the liberals are here to do. We are not fighting people. We are not murdering people. We will defend ourselves if attacked, but no one is actually attacking someone by just walking down the street. And it's far more effective to debate and laugh at these people and debunk them than to actually hurt them, because then you make of them victims. You make it look like you can't defeat their arguments. And if you can't defeat their arguments, how do we know they're wrong? I think you guys are the biggest recruiters for fascists in the world, by far, throughout all of history. All of the street fights, all of the fucking civil wars, all caused, in my opinion, by communist aggression trying to implement the communist utopia, which sparks up the fascists, and then you create more fascists by going, well, everyone who opposes is a fascist, and then you end up creating fascist states. That's my theory on the damaging effect that communism has had to the West since the fucking Enlightenment. Anyway, nobody's going to die or suffer a serious injury from a milkshake that's going to look like a twat for a while. Well, you look like a twat permanently. Like, I posted, I should have got it up for this video actually, but I'm not going to bother now. I posted something to my Facebook page just surveying on what do people think of milkshakes. Unsurprisingly, 1 in 5 people thought it was a good idea. 4 out of 5 people didn't. This is not a popular position. You do not have the majority behind you in randomly assaulting your political opponents. Do you understand? Like, By pelting fascists and racists with milkshakes, you haven't hit a single fascist or racist yet. You haven't hit a single one. You couldn't even point to them. You think it's just people who say things you don't like. That's not the definition of a fascist or a racist. You are not actually hitting your target. And once again, the common problem with communism, really, isn't it? But anyway, we're letting them know how little we fear them in their message of hate. Actually, it looks like you're terrified of them to the point where you go out and physically assault them and then threaten it'll get worse. That's what it looks like. It looks like you are weak and you are terrified. You don't seem to understand this, right? All of this tough talk on the internet, I'm not impressed whatsoever. Every time I've met you fucking cowards in the street, you've looked afraid. You've been trembling in front of me, and all I'm there is like, I'm here to talk. I mean, when I was in Bristol, the guy was literally visibly trembling, and I'm like, dude, I'm not going to attack you. Like, none of the people who support me are going to want to attack you if they believe any of the things I believe. We want to talk to you, and that made you more scared. Don't give me this, we don't fear them. Yes, you do. You are terrified of fascists. They're constantly on the back of your mind. And it's probably because fascism is a movement that came out of socialism. Because fascism is basically honest socialism. It's that, yeah, we know we're going to have to take over. We're going to have to do political violence. We're going to have to implement censorship, constant restrictions, economic totalitarianism. But we don't want to. We want to get to a point of perfect freedom. And the fascists basically go, well, that's a dead doctrine. We actually want to do those things because that's how we get anywhere. And it's like, boom, they're honest socialists, man. I'm telling you, there's a reason they always end up looking the same in the way that the states are run. Dictatorial, totalitarian, dystopian nightmares. And that's what these people create. Everywhere they go. There isn't a time in history where a fascist or a socialist didn't create a dystopian hellhole. Well, that's all I'm saying, right? But anyway, we could kill you, but we're not afraid, so why bother? I don't know if you could, right? Remember, Germany, Spain, you lost those, right? And communism didn't exactly take over in England, did it? So I'm not seeing, I guess World War II with the Soviet Union, that's the best you've got? So like 1 out of 4 in your examples, right? So I don't think you can just say, we could kill you, because you're a minority population, and you historically haven't done so well on that regard. How many millions of communists died, or Russians at least anyway, not necessarily communists. But anyway, have this dairy product, you fucking cock, is the general idea. Yeah, you just hate the people you're opposing. Again, not one fascist, just the people you're opposing. It's milkshakes. It could be Molotovs. Hopefully milkshakes mean Molotovs never become necessary. Dude, you're going to start a civil war, as you always do. This is totally beyond the pale. The idea of 7,000 shares threatening Molotovs. Like, unfucking real. I hope that whoever's posted this has actually been fucking arrested, man. I really do, because this is just, it's unacceptable to conduct a democracy like that. That's the end of democracy when you start doing this. And I don't want our democracies to end, believe it or not. So this is just, you're not fighting fascists, you fucking idiots.